Hey, it's Sam with JP and Associates Realtors. It's Wednesday. It's April 15th. Normally that would be tax day, of course, but today, because of altered circumstances in our world, that I think it's delayed till July or something like that. The reason that I scheduled this live broadcast for 3 p.m. today is that I'm having a guest. Her name is Alicea Jones, and she's a very remarkable young lady. I was going to say she's just a great person. I met her just randomly a few years ago, and but I knew her name before I even started talking to her because she used to be the editor of the Georgetown View magazine. So she was the editor for a long time. She is still a writer, and she did start a nonprofit organization called the Mommie Support Network. We've had a little bit of technical difficulty this afternoon. That's why she's not here with me just at this moment, but she should be joining at any time. I want to say thank you to all of our viewers. I appreciate you taking some time out of your Wednesday afternoon. Hopefully it's a much wanted break, and it looks like she's coming online right now. So let me pull her in. Alicea, you're back.
Hello, Samantha. Yes.
I was just telling everyone, I just had a little bit of, I was telling them that you were editor of the Georgetown View magazine and that you have started this nonprofit Mommie Support Network. We'll get into more details in a few minutes, but I just wanted to catch you up of where I was while you were getting ready to join me. You and I met, like, it was kind of random. I think I met your husband first.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was doing some canvassing, I think at the Red Poppy Festival a few years
Yes.
ago. And then up
Yes.
you walk, and I was like, oh my gosh, I know this lady. I mean, I know her face, and I knew who you were, and
Right.
it's just been great knowing you ever since then.
Yes. Same here, Samantha.
So we'll talk about your nonprofit just here in a minute, but you started out, you've had quite a career besides editing, writing, and you are a published author. You have a book, correct? Is that right?
Yes. Yes. It's called Genuinely Georgetown. It's
Uh-huh.
a book of stories about different people in Georgetown, Texas.
Mm-hmm. And then you grew up on the West Coast, didn't you?
Yes, yes. So my family migrated from the East Coast to the West Coast. We've been all over, but
Yeah.
yeah, and lived there for a long time in the Los Angeles County area, and moved out here to Texas about 15 years ago.
Okay. All right, great. Well, so where Mommie Support Network, I'm familiar, but I would love for you to talk a little bit about, I'd love to know some of the history, like share with everyone some of the history behind why you started it, but maybe it's best to just kind of tell everybody what it is at this point.
Sure, sure. So, Mommy Support Network is a nonprofit, as you mentioned, and our goal is to support moms emotionally, socially, and then with education as well. And the reason why we are so passionate about that is because oftentimes moms feel isolated. Talk about being isolated right now.
Oh, no. Gosh,
Seems to be a hot button word
it really
in the
is.
midst of,
Yeah.
yes, yes, in the midst of this pandemic. But even before what we're going through right now, moms, especially new moms, first time moms, um, there can be a sense of isolation because all of a sudden, if there's a partner involved, the partner goes back to work. And the mom may or may not have other family members nearby. We're so spread out now that oftentimes a mom finds herself at home by herself.
Yeah.
And it can be a very lonely situation for a mom, especially if she doesn't have contacts with other moms, either in her neighborhood or through other social outlets. And so we started Mommie Support Network because we wanted to provide venues for moms to be with other moms and you're probably going to ask me, where that passion came from. So I'll wait. I'll hold that until you ask me that. But basically, that is what Mommie Support Network is all about.
Okay. All right. Good. Yeah, and that is the next question. Why, like, how? I know you have a daughter, and
Yes.
and so I would surmise that you have experience. I know that you have experience being a mommy and
Yes.
a
Yes.
first-time mom. So what led to this inspiration for you to start this organization?
Yeah. Yeah. So before I became a mom, and my daughter, she's a young adult now, but when she first blessed me by appearing into my life and into my husband's life, I was on a career track, and financial services was about as far as you could go in a small banking institution. And, my whole young adult life had been geared towards building this career. And so did that, and got pregnant a little later in life, in my 30s, and later 30s, and decided I wanted to be an at-home mom. And I wanted to do that desperately. I wanted to be the one to raise her. And so finally, we were in a position to be able to do that when she was about 10 months old. What I didn't know is that that transition would be more than just a decision to be at home. There's a lot that goes into going from, being in a full-fledged career with the corner office and the business cards and all of that, to
Mhm.
suddenly, being at home, changing diapers,
Yeah.
and figuring out this mom thing. And
Mhm.
so I think it was a combination of that, and, my personality type is somewhat, type A, really wanting to excel. And I brought that personality type into mothering, and quickly found out that it doesn't always work that way.
No.
I mean, if things don't work out on the job, you can fire people, right? Or you can counsel them or what have you. You
Yeah.
can't fire your children.
No.
So,
Nor
no.
yourself, nor your
Not
other
yourself, right?
parent.
You can fire yourself, exactly. So, I think it was a combination of that transition, and then the isolation. In my neighborhood, there were no other moms around. Either they were older people or younger families, and both people worked. So I just found myself pretty isolated. And then anybody who's a parent knows that, you have to figure this out. Even if you come from a family where you're one of several siblings, or the oldest, or you've been around children, when you have your own, it is a totally different story. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh my gosh, I am responsible for this young life. And, I really felt that responsibility very, very strongly. And because there's so many questions that come with being a parent, between that, the isolation, and the transition, anyway, I wound up becoming very depressed.
Okay. Wow.
And, they call it postpartum depression today. Back then, they didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
There was no name for it. It was like, just pull yourself together, girl, go to a
Yeah.
movie or something, or, whatever. And,
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way.
Mhm.
So that was a really rough time in my life for someone who was used to being in control. All of a sudden being in a position where, hey, girl, you're not in control here, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so going through that time, we all have times in our lives that are transitional, pivotal, momentous, whatever word applies to you. That was that time for me. And I just knew when I got through that time that what I wanted to do is help other mothers
Okay.
who found themselves in the same situation.
Yeah. Did you also find a group that somehow echoed what you later developed with Mommy Support Network, or did this idea for the nonprofit spring out of having zero support?
I think it was more of the latter. Eventually, I think when my daughter was maybe about 3 years old or so, we had a local community college where we lived in California, and they had kind of like a parent education class where you would bring your kid to this classroom. It was like a church that rented out their space that had a playground, and the moms would take turns taking care of the kids while the moms sat in a circle, and we basically talked about whatever issue was the issue of the day. And we did that once a week. So but other than that, there really wasn't a place for moms to get together to say, you know what, I am struggling here, or I'm feeling like this is something more than baby blues. This has been now 6 months, and I'm still feeling like I can't come back to my normal self. So there wasn't anything like that. And so when I decided to start Mommie Support Network, there were other moms who really were founders with me. And we just got together and said, okay, what can we do? What can we do to help moms out there who might be struggling? And we thought of a lot of different ideas. And so we wound up saying, well, why don't we do a conference, and where moms could come together, we could have expert speakers come in and talk about different issues facing moms. So that was our first big event, so to speak. And we thought we could do that. And we were able to do that. I mean, it was a lot of work. We had a ton of fundraising. But anyway, so that's how we got started.
And so really that's exactly what you built the nonprofit around, was the conference. That was the birth of it, basically.
Yes, that was the birth of it. And that at that time, that was the best way we thought to bring moms together, to offer workshops on topics that were really critical to moms.
And so you've had, just last fall, this was the first time I got to participate and attend the conference. That was the second one or the third one?
That was the second one.
The second.
Yes, that was the second one.
And it was, I was more of in a vendor role, and I did support, of course, the conference. I didn't get to attend many of the breakout sessions, but there were a couple hundred women who were extremely happy that day. Everybody I talked to as they were leaving, they were just like on this high. They were, just so excited to have time to get away and to be kind of, just goofy in a lot of cases, but also be very serious about approaching, these issues that you're describing, depression, isolation, and stuff like that. And I'm sure you get many, many comments afterwards and lots of thankful emails whenever you do put stuff like this together, because it was really good. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the type of guests or breakout sessions that you would have, either the first or the second conference?
Sure. So actually with both conferences, what we found was that moms with young children, and when I say young children, I mean, up through elementary school, first-time moms, and we even had an expecting mom attend the conference. And the thing that I think attracted those moms is the same kinds of things that I experienced when I became a mom. How do I do this thing? How do I take care of myself, mentally, physically, otherwise, while I'm raising my children? And I think one thing, just walking around talking to the different moms, what I saw was that there was such a heart to want to be a good mom. I hear that over and over again. I want to be a good mom, but I don't quite know how to do this thing. There's no manual. My mom lives, 3 states away, and I really don't know how to do this thing. I want to do a good job, but I don't know how. Not really feeling good about the job that I'm doing. So the fact that these moms were able to come together and to go to different workshops, and really the conference was less about parenting and more about how we can be the best people we can be, because that winds up being an influence to our children. When our children see us taking care of ourselves, it teaches them a valuable lesson. And so, we had workshops on how to pursue your dreams while you're helping your children pursue theirs. Because, as moms, what do? Sometimes we give up everything because we feel that that's what it takes to be a good mom. And we sometimes leave our own dreams behind. And that was really important to me, because I experienced that feeling that, oh, well, to be a good mom, it means I need to totally 100% focus on being a parent and being a mother. And really, we are created as multifaceted human beings. Yes, we're a mother when our children, especially when they're younger, that is a priority in our lives. But it doesn't mean that we cannot continue to pursue the other parts that make us who we are. It may look a little different, because we're raising kids, but we can still explore and learn and sew into those other parts of us that make us who we are.
Yeah, I think that's so important. You're exactly right. You and I are both kind of in a similar age, with our, my oldest is, I think, about the same age as your daughter. And, you get to this point where if you've totally ignored yourself and your own dreams all the time that you're raising your own children, then, how do you transition back into being me, and I think that's why what you do is so important, because you are continuing to encourage people to be a person, women and moms to be people and to take care of themselves, and then to be able to, I think that's great. Walk alongside your kids while, with your own dreams, while they have their own dreams, and you're helping them with theirs. I think that's great.
Yes.
So what are you doing right now? I mean, like we were talking about a minute ago, I mean, it's like even more isolating right now. I mean, I just can't imagine what some families have got to be going through, and it's got to be so hard. So I understand you've got something going that is offering support on an ongoing basis. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. So we have started support network groups for moms once a week. Currently, it's Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Where we're keeping it small, because when we go through challenges like this, one of the things that is so healing is just to be able to talk about what's bothering you, and to learn that, oh, okay, I'm not the only one who was in my pajamas all day long because I never got to take my shower, or whatever, Guess what? You're not by yourself. There's a lot of other moms out there with their pajamas still on at 5 o'clock in the evening, So, this, and we started this actually before the lock-in and the pandemic and all of that. Yeah, because we recognize that while, the conferences are great, it's a great time for moms to come together, there's really a need for more frequent touches, I call it, with moms, and to create small groups where moms feel like, I can just be real. I can just be who I am. I can talk about anger. I can talk about this feeling of loneliness. I can talk about feelings of unworthiness, or, whatever those things are, and be supported in a non-judgmental, confidential environment of other moms who can say, yeah, girl, I'm right there with you. The same thing happened to me today, or, let me affirm that your feelings are valid. We don't all have answers. I mean, none of us are therapists or anything like that. We're just people who want to support one another. And so that's what we do. We started out meeting face to face. Now we're online
Okay.
because of the pandemic, and may even keep it that way.
Really?
So yeah, and a very small group. We have a few slots open right now for this local group. So
Okay.
everybody's interested.
Yeah, and it is
Join.
pre-registration is required, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes,
All
yes.
right.
And I don't know if the chat is open for everyone. I
It
can
should
post the
be.
link.
Yeah, it should
Okay.
be. Yeah, if you're able to do that, that would be great. Um,
Okay. I just put it in the chat.
okay.
Mhm.
And then, have you've had, do you normally have just kind of the groups are moderated by you, or do you have other experts in to
Mhm.
moderate or lead the discussion, or what is the kind of format of that group?
Yeah. Okay. So, we're talking about less than 10 moms for the group. So it's very small. Um, and right now I facilitate the group, and facilitate just means that, I keep us on target,
Right.
get the information out there, all that stuff. I'm not the guru. I'm not the chief therapist. I'm not a licensed therapist or anything like that.
Mhm.
But my job is just to keep the conversation flowing, keep us on time. Really, it's the moms group. It's not my group. It's the moms who are participating.
Mhm.
So that's how we've formulated it at this point.
So it's very
At
casual.
some, yeah, very, very casual. Pajamas welcome. um, yes, and that's what we're doing right now. Eventually, we're planning this year to offer more instructional kinds
Okay,
of
good.
support groups where, we are going to be teaching things like self-care,
Mhm.
um, coping when things are out of control, like right now.
Yeah.
But for now, we just felt it was important to offer a venue where moms could just say, look, this is what's on my heart right now, and I need to talk about it.
Yeah, just have friendships because I think that's what a lot of times moms will um, get together like at the park or something and maybe hash a few things out with
Mhm.
people that they know already. But I have to say, from some of the experiences that I've had in sort of small group settings like that, sometimes when you don't know the other people that are in the room, you can find yourself being a little more vulnerable than you might be with your usual crew, um, just
Right.
because, sometimes it just helps. I mean, it's not anonymity, but it's, just having someone who you think might have a different perspective or a different ear or a different heart to listen with. And so it sounds like that's an opportunity also because you're not, having people together in the group just because they're all friends or whatever. Um, and then
Right.
I was also going to mention that one of the vendors that you had at the last conference, um, it was an exercise group. I can't. She's going to be upset with me because I can't remember the name of her
Oh,
business, but she,
um,
you know who I'm talking about.
yeah.
Yeah.
Fit for it'll come to me. It'll
Fit
come to
for
me.
Moms. That was it. Fit for
Fit
Moms.
for moms.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's a different type of support because they were exercise and everything. But, we can't do that. We need uh, groups like what you're doing and what you're intending to do, um,
Yeah.
with your groups. Do you have sort of a timeline for rolling out the more targeted or specific training
Yeah.
focus groups?
So, we're looking at summer.
Okay.
In May, I'll be teaching a class on time management for Bridges to Growth, which is a program of the Georgetown Project in Georgetown, Texas. And it will be online. We'll be posting that in the Mommie Support Network Facebook page. And then beyond that, starting in the summer, we'll be offering through Mommie Support Network other classes. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Okay. I'm putting it's mommie support network.org, right? Putting that in the chat also. And I just mentioned the time management class in May with Bridges to Growth. Um, so is there anything else that you can think of that you'd like to share with us?
I just wanted to say that, this time that we're in right now is affecting all of us in some way.
Yeah.
And I think that, everybody has a different way of responding to change, to challenges like this pandemic.
Yeah.
And it's a reminder to me, two things, two positive things I want to say to moms in particular, but really to everyone. And that is that with every time of challenge, change, surprise, even negative things, there's always an opportunity for growth and to learn. And we're seeing that now with us having to teach differently, to communicate differently. People are coming up with very creative ways to stay connected. So, I would just beg all of us to think about what opportunities might be there as we go through this time. I think the other thing is that, and I've heard this from so many people, that going through this pandemic has put us in a position where we really appreciate things and people differently. I appreciate you, Samantha, and being here and, having a heart to reach out to others. That's just you. Would you have done this forum outside of the pandemic? Maybe eventually, I don't know.
Yeah,
but, a lot of people are having to look at things differently. And I think it presents a lot of new opportunities. And even though we call it social isolation, physical distancing, I would like to remind myself and all of us to stay connected with others, especially people you haven't talked to for a while, maybe people who live alone, older people, other moms. And, sometimes on social media, everybody looks like they have it all together, but really the heart's not right. And ignore how people look on the surface. Reach out, call someone that you haven't talked to for a while. How are you doing? Send out a card. Thank God the postal service is still up and running and getting our mail, it's a great time to go back to snail mail. So anyway, you never know what your kind words or a smile might mean to somebody who's on the brink. And anyway,
trying to keep an image that they're not on the brink too. I think, sometimes not that we can ever really see through that in other people, but you're right. You just never know how a negative word will hit someone and how a positive word will hit someone. And I think it is, you're totally right. When we were speaking the other day, preparing for this, there was one thing that you said that I think is like a diamond. It's so valuable. And that is to remember that sometimes you have accomplished everything by just getting through the day. That's not a quote, but you did say something like that. And the idea of giving yourself grace to have a to-do list that's 20 miles long and only, get into your daytime pajamas and then change into your nighttime pajamas in time for dinner, whatever. It's, sometimes it's just as, I'll speak for myself. I can be very, very hard on myself if I don't accomplish everything I set out to do. And that was especially true when my kids were young. It's still true, even though they're practically adults, both of them. But it doesn't help anybody to be that hard on yourself, because then you take it out on your kids. And we all know, every single one of us has been there, where we're frustrated and not giving ourselves grace, and then we end up not being very graceful to other people. And I just really appreciated you making that point, because sometimes we don't have to do any of it. We don't have to do it all, but we don't even have to do any of it.
Right.
As long as we got ourselves and our families fed, and it doesn't have
Right.
to be cleaned up right away or
Right.
whatever, you know.
That's
So,
right. I like that. It doesn't have to be cleaned up right away.
yeah, yeah,
That's
it
going to be
doesn't.
my motto for the day. It doesn't have to be cleaned
Okay.
up right away.
All right. Well, I was looking in the chat and the discussion to see if anyone had any comments or questions. I haven't seen anything come up, but you know, we'll for sure, if we have any questions that from the audience, that would be great to have that right now. But after this, I'm going to save this recording and I will share it with you so that you can share it with your audience. I will be posting it on Instagram, on my YouTube channel, and of course, it will be available on Facebook. I think it becomes a permanent video. Yeah, this is my first time doing this, so this is like
Ah.
been a learning curve, but I,
Mhm.
I had to definitely bring in someone I value a lot, and I think everything that you're doing, especially with this nonprofit, is only beneficial for our communities, all of them. I mean, it doesn't have to be just in Georgetown. You're based here, but I'm sure you reach lots and lots of people. Oh,
Yeah.
Steve says I like to clean right away, but that's me, and I know. I know Steve likes to clean right away, but you know what?
Right.
Sometimes we all have to find our rhythm, and yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Anyhow, we'll share this with with you and with your audience, and hopefully you'll have some new registrations. There is a link to registering in the chat as well. So hopefully you'll see some
Yes.
new registrations, and I will keep people posted on what I find out that you're offering new.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. Thank you, Samantha.
I hope you have a great day. It's been good to talk to you, and I'm
Thank you.
really proud of you. Look forward
Thank
to seeing
you.
what you do next.
Back at you.
Okay.
Take care, Samantha.